If you're in the market for a powerful, portable, and really good looking Ultrabook, you might want to put the Dell XPS 13 on your list of potential candidates. It's extremely lightweight, offers a thin design, and has one of the best displays you're going to find on an Ultrabook. I'm Matty Moe, and this is my review of the Dell XPS 13-inch laptop. Let's start off with the design, and the model I have here is the cheapest option with only the CPU being upgraded from an i3 to an i5. The laptop is using Intel's latest Broadwell CPU architecture, has 4GB of RAM, 128GB of SSD storage space, and the video card uses Intel's Iris 5500 HD chip. The beautiful display has a 1920 by 1080 resolution and goes edge to edge. Now, one thing I would have liked to see when customizing this laptop was more options. For example, the highest amount of RAM you can put in here is 8GB. It would have been nice to at least go up to 16. When you first pick up this laptop, you can't help but notice that it's extremely well built with a silver colored machined aluminum exterior that gives it a classy and durable look. Now, it's not 100% aluminum, and below is a carbon material to reduce the weight to 2.6 pounds, which is actually 0.36 pounds lighter than the MacBook Air. I've used this laptop for the past couple of weeks, and I love how light it is and the fact that it does a great job of not catching my fingerprints. Turning the laptop to the right side, you'll notice that it has an SD card slot, one USB 3.0 slot, and a Noble lock. On the opposite side, you have a port for your power adapter, another USB 3.0 port, a 4K capable display port, headphone jack, and a battery life indicator. However, one port that I would have liked to see is an Ethernet port. Most likely due to the thin size, it had to be left out, which means you'll have to buy a USB to RJ45 adapter. For those of you that prefer wireless, the good news is it comes packed with 802.11 AC Plus and Bluetooth 4.0. One last thing you'll notice is the speakers are on both sides of the laptop. Now, it's not the best place to put them, and I would have preferred them somewhere on the front for better sound quality. Flipping it over onto its back, you'll see a very long vent grill. Just make sure not to rest this on your bed and always keep it on a flat surface. Opening up the laptop can be a bit frustrating. It takes two hands to pry it open, and it's really not a smooth experience. I would have loved some one-handed operability, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. Once you do manage to pry it open, the first thing you're going to notice is the edge-to-edge display. And as I mentioned before, this is the full HD version, and it looks absolutely amazing. The colors are sharp, the blacks are deep, and the viewing angles are really good. The screen does have a matte finish, so you won't get any glare, and also because there are almost no bezels, the 13.3-inch display feels bigger than it actually looks. However, if 1080p isn't going to cut it, you can always offer the QHD Plus Infinity Touch version, which will get you 3200 by 1800 resolution, offer you a superior viewing experience, and put the MacBook Pro with Retina to shame. For those of you that use the web camera a lot, you must be warned that the placement of the camera is at the bottom left-hand side of the laptop and not in your typical place at the top middle. The person will be looking up towards you instead of down, so if you're talking to your boss, just make sure to have those nose hairs trimmed. The keyboard fills the center of the laptop very nicely, and the backlighting works well and gets bright. But the one thing I notice is the feeling of the keys. When you press down, the distance is short. It doesn't feel satisfying like other well-made keyboards on the market, and I also notice the actual keyboard has a lot of flex to it, which makes it feel soft and fragile. The Precision Trackpad, on the other hand, is absolutely phenomenal, at least for the most part, but it does have some software-related issues. For one, there seems to be some sort of cursor acceleration problem. When you lift your finger from the trackpad, the cursor sometimes jumps around. It is ever so slightly, but enough to annoy you when doing certain tasks. Now, there is a huge thread going on the Dell forum with a workaround solution to this problem, but an official patch or fix hasn't been released as of yet. I'll make sure to link that forum thread in the description down below in case any of you guys are having that issue. When it comes to performance, the Dell XPS does a great job for an Ultrabook. In World of Warcraft, it scored 30 frames per second at 1080p with the graphics set to good. Once I bumped it up to maximum, it did drop down to 13 frames per second. Don't expect to play the most graphic intensive games well, but you can play some older but still popular titles just fine. However, if you are just buying this laptop to work with Microsoft Office, browse the internet, and consume media, then you will be extremely happy with how smooth it performs. Now, for all you benchmark junkies out there, here is how the XPS scored. In 3D Mark CloudGate, it scored 4,935, Skydiver 2,745, and Firestrike scored 739. Cinebench CPU scored 258 points, with graphics coming in at 28.76 frames per second. PC Mark 8 home test scored a whopping total of 2,354 points. Overall, the Dell XPS 13-inch performed really well for an Ultrabook. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to do a heat test, but according to laptopmag.com, streaming Hulu video for 15 minutes, the top of the machine remained relatively cool. The touchpad was 27 degrees Celsius, and the space between the G and H keys was 32 degrees. Both of these temperatures are below the comfort threshold of 35 degrees. The bottom was a different story though. While the dead center was 35 degrees, the back edge near the vent got as hot as 40 degrees Celsius. Moving on to battery life, and for the most part it was really good. The XPS lasted 11 hours and 50 minutes, which is really good for an ultra portable and is most likely due to how efficient the 14nm Broadwell CPU is. Now it's still not as good as the MacBook Air, which will probably last you another 45 minutes, but it's pretty darn close. Now if you do have the QHD Plus version, which has the higher res screen, expect it to not last nearly as long, as the battery has to power all those pixels. So what's the bottom line then? Should you go out and purchase this device? Most definitely yes. All the complaints that I had with this laptop were mostly minor and superficial. Sure, it would have been nice to have an Ethernet port and front-facing speakers as opposed to the sides, but at the end of the day, you're getting a new design standard, a very fast machine, awesome battery life, and an edge-to-edge display. Now, what do you guys think of the Dell XPS 13-inch laptop? Is it worth the purchase? And for those of you out there that have this device, let me know in the comments below what you like and dislike about your laptop. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button. And for those of you that haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see everybody in the next video.